Welcome back to Black Coffee Conversations. This is part two. I'm one of the hosts, Tanya.
And I'm Tiffany.
Yes, and this is part two of what did we call it? Part one was really the mind of a man,
Yes.
their deal breakers, their non
What
negotiables.
they desire in relationship. And now we're
Yes,
going to flip the script.
that's right. We're going to flip it because at first we kind of had our mouth zipped
We
and we
asked a few
listened.
questions. We learned a few things we
Yes, we
didn't know.
did.
We have a better understanding of a lot of things.
Yes, we do.
And now it's time for us to add value to
Our
this
turn.
conversation.
That's right. It's your turn. So
Okay.
ask away,
Okay.
gentlemen.
Man, this gonna be good, man. The Sabbath this one.
We are in the hot seat today.
Yes.
So, oh my goodness.
So you ladies being single. So what is your take on men today and how they approach you?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? I can, because I guess we're taking it from two different perspectives.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Go ahead.
really, I would say I guess I am the oldest at the table. Just
Wait a
turned.
minute, say that. Wait
I
a
am.
minute.
I'm the oldest here, and then also being divorced. And I have, of course, three children that are grown, 19-year-old twins, 29-year-old daughter. So I'm an empty nester. It I am treading lightly. I am now at in a new place. Like I said, newly an empty nester. So you want things to happen organically. I honestly have tried the online dating. I think when you become older, and you're very comfortable with you're very comfortable in how your life works with my career. When it comes to dating, I tend to tread lightly, and I guess it's that I'm okay being single at this moment, and I think I want that organic, more of that organic relationship to happen. But I will say this: at my age, there are some non negotiables that I have that are very concrete because I am in this season of my life. Things like, and I don't know if things like, um, you know, financial stability. When you get to this point, at 54, getting closer, to retirement, having older children, and having your life set in terms of your bills and how that works. I guess when I think about dating, I want to make sure that my future mate has that financial stability. We're like minded in that because you want to be able to continue to have the things that you have, and you want that person to come in and for you to add value. Both of you all, you're now in the positive. Not that you're even, not that you're negative. We're both adding value financially to each other. And I think that's important for me, as well as spirituality. I'm just kind of at the point in my life where I believe at this point, I know who I am. I know my relationship with God. And I want to make sure that that future mate, we are equally yoked, and he is a man of God and spiritual. I think when you're young, those may be things that maybe are not important to you, but as you get older, you want to make sure that you have those things in place. I don't want to talk too much, but that's kind of, I guess, from my perspective. I think right now I'm just kind of at a standstill to see what happens.
Okay.
Yes.
You too.
Um, for me, one of the most important things I think is for a gentleman to be able to put me in an atmosphere I can thrive in. He also has to believe that he can afford me. And that means on all levels, emotionally, spiritually. If I'm a church girl or I'm spiritual, I'm meditating, I'm going to therapy, I'm drinking my water, I'm working out, and you are not about that life, you might not be able to afford me. So if you feel like you can't, then, we can't date, because I don't believe in getting in front of the man. The man has to already have the vision for me that I fit into his whole setup.
Yes.
And if he does not have that, then, he can't afford me. So that's important. And I know that's probably more of an umbrella answer, but
No.
I know when I'm in an atmosphere and I'm thriving. It's a very receptive thing that I feel when I'm getting the right energy from a man. And so if I don't feel that way, or if I feel any discomfort when I'm in his presence, if I'm anxious or I'm not in my body where I can just relax, then I won't date him.
So when you say afford me, it's really more than financial. It's encompassing
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yes,
in
it's
terms
intellectual
of
too.
yes,
If
yes,
the conversation, if
yes,
he can't afford me conversationally, you know,
yeah,
then yeah, no. And it's pretty easy to figure that out if you approach it in that way.
right.
Because we're fitting into a space that we need to feel good in.
Right.
And if we don't feel good in it, then that's not where we need to be.
And I'm glad that you said that because I do feel the same way. And I mean, I'm sorry, you all can chime in because I know we're
good.
doing the, yeah. And you know what? I talked about the person financially being there. And it's really not about in terms of, I really have to just pray on this. I'm gonna say one thing. When I was single, a single mom with my oldest, my 29-year-old, if you've ever been like broke and not had, you didn't have that much money, and I mean, I had situations where the light was turned off. I didn't live paycheck to paycheck. I lived paycheck to paycheck plus paydays, every month. And so I think that fear of kind of that's something that stays with you, and I'm so not trying to go back to that place. So I guess I kind of, the first thing I said was financially, because I feel like I've really worked hard. I'm a very frugal person, and I've worked hard and really managed financially to where I am now. That might kind of be a fear of mine, that I want to make sure that the man that comes into my life, that we're able to financially be comfortable. And maybe I'm talking about money, and I am, because I'm really at that point in my life, being 54, getting close to retirement, having older children. You think about weddings, you think about grandchildren, all of that. I just never want to go back. So I just want to make sure that I'm also adding value, to the person that comes into my life as well.
And
I think that's why I bring up money. I have that fear there.
Money
Might be
is
something that's
important.
there. There, I need that. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, I think for me, is at this point, it's more about being equally yoked.
Yes.
And what
Yes.
that means for me is, so the money is an important conversation to have. Finance is how you approach spending, how he approached spending, that you
Right.
have shared values in that.
Yes. Yes.
I also feel like the mentality around money
Yes.
matching is important.
That's very true.
Because I've been in relationships with very ambitious men who had a lot of resources, but they were still stuck in more of a survival frame of mind.
Yes.
And that was not necessarily a match for my mentality. I mean, I know we live in a bag chasing world,
Right.
but
Right.
I don't want to be in a relationship like that. And
Agreed.
I didn't grow up that way. I just didn't. I know some people did, but I've never been hungry or thirsty a day in my life. So I'm not in the space, in that frame of mind. And I think if those two dynamics don't match, it can be a real conflict between two
very much
people.
so.
So yeah, I don't really desire someone who is just, I think ambition shows up differently in different people. You can be ambitious about fulfilling your purpose,
Very
about
true. Very true.
expanding your kingdom. But if it's about chasing a bag, I don't really want to do that.
No.
I can do that by myself.
And a lot of people do today, I think. You see a lot of people that do that. Yes.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong with
Excuse me.
you having that financial desire to come from your person. It's a part of our role. It's part of the masculine role to have that a part of our equation. We're supposed to be the provider. So I like that. You need that. But Tiffany, on the other hand, touched on the other side of it, which is if the man doesn't fit your filter, then filter him. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, and that's what I like about this conversation. A lot of times the discussion doesn't go in the direction of if I pick a lemon, I picked it. I picked poorly. So if a woman isn't going to stand in her frame, stand on her square about what it is she truly wants and don't settle, then you don't get to then turn around and blame it on the man for not being that in that position that you put him in. You know what I mean? He was unworthy. Right? Not because he was a bad person, it's because it wasn't evenly yoked. So
and we have to know what we want then. We have to be clear on what the deal breakers are, the non-negotiables, and what we desire.
Exactly. So these kinds of conversations have to happen. So now I have to ask, based on what you know you want and what you know you need, speaking to, because y'all are the anomaly, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, you are, because most women are modern. Most women are modern, and that's why men are going abroad to find femininity. So men are going abroad to find femininity because women that are left, that are modern, they're modern for a reason. The other M word is they're masculine. So if you're a masculine woman, asking for what you guys are asking for is delusion. So what do you say to your audience based on that reality?
Well, okay, I do have an answer to that because I like a certain type of man.
Okay.
Just based on the men that raised me, that were in my family, most of them were very stoic. But the thing that was beautiful about the men in my family, they were also very devoted to their families. So I got a combination of men who offered support, protection, provision, all of the things a woman needs, but they still had that strong masculine quality about them. It's hard to find that hybrid of qualities in the modern space because stoicism translates differently now. And so I am naturally polarity attracted to a stoic man, but once I get in there, you have to assess whether he's emotionally available to you, if you can access him, if he wants to just stay focused on that linear thought, or if he can create space for you to just be a woman, to be vulnerable, to be soft, to be pour honey out on the table, just be as sweet as you want to be. A lot of men cannot handle that and stay in their stoicism. And so that's the challenge for me, but I know that's what I like. I know that I'm attracted to this, and I know when I get in it, I need something that opens up for me to be me.
Right, but is it that coming through a field of women and men that are on average modern? You know what I mean? If you're dealing, not to, I'm not trying to pick sides, but if I'm a man and I'm dealing with mostly masculine women, I'm going to go into a space of defense, my defense mechanism. So it's not fair, but we're going to project. So if you're the anomaly, what are you going to do to present yourself or represent yourself in a way that a man that is traumatized in that type of environment to notice, that's the anomaly right there.
Being yourself, being authentic, and being yourself.
Problem attracting
yes, right.
Well, okay. Well, I put it this way: we can see the anomaly, we can see it. But the question is, what are you women being able to do? What can you do to maintain? Because you can get us, but what are you going to do to maintain and show us? Because just like you guys have non-negotiables, we have non-negotiables, right?
It's about cultivating a garden. I mean, a woman makes a house a home. A woman is a cultivator of beauty in whatever space she takes up. So I think if you are a woman of that craft and that feminine persuasion, you can't help but to do that.
It's who you are.
But we do that from the overflow. We don't do that from a deficit. So we need to already be full, and even feeding a baby, it all comes from the overflow. So if the man is creating stability for us to be at maximum capacity, I mean, the woman can just unlimitedly pour out.
But how do we get there when we first, so first meeting, when you first
first
meet
meeting, yeah.
someone.
Well, that's attraction. You know, whatever your feminine polarity is, whatever you like,
Right.
you're going to call that in. And then once you do, you know, you're going to have that dopamine hit. So you got to get past that part.
Right.
But that part can be very juicy and very beautiful. It's not to be discounted just because it's a neurotransmitter. I mean, it is a very important part.
Right.
And then you get into the deeper wiring of your parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous systems, and that will tell you whether someone is keenly wired for survival or if you all can sync programs.
Right.
So if you can do that, I think you can keep going. But I think after the dopamine comes down, that's when the real, you know, work starts as to whether, you know, you're really going to be able to go further with this person.
Where are you meeting the men organically? If you're not doing dating sites, if you're not doing that, because I have done the dating sites, I don't need to put it out there, but I've tried the different dating sites. You know, I've had a little bit of success. I really want to go back to really being able to meet that person organically. I probably don't go out enough to be able to do that. But where are you meeting?
Tanya, everywhere.
Maybe I'm just not getting, yes.
Okay. So even last night I was at the gym and I was in the barbell section where all the men are, and I was just over there doing my own thing.
Right.
And I mean, at least 3 guys came up to me and paid me a compliment and was so sweet. And I wasn't like flirting with them or, you know, I was pretty focused in my own space, but I just think that, how can I quantify this? I just think that you have to show up in your essence. And your essence leaks out and it attracts men.
And I'm learning too, ladies. I'm actually learning from Tiffany and from these the handsome gentlemen that we have here, because I agree, and we've had this conversation because I am a homebody.
I do have a deficit, so I don't have a problem attracting men. My problem is that I'm very sweet. I'm like almost strawberry shortcake sweet. And I give people the benefit of the doubt. So sometimes I like to put broken toys back together.
Right, same here.
And I have wasted a lot of time fixing bird wings that was broken. I really have. And a lot of those people are still grateful, you know, shout out to them. But I, as a woman, time is not on our side, you know. And I'm not getting into no Kevin Samuel stuff. I'm just saying it's people time is not on our side. We can't afford to just take on all these projects. That's not our assignment. So if we want to have the relationship that we are really desiring, you have to, at some level in your womanhood, practice a level of discernment where you know what your non-negotiables are, you know what your deal breakers are, and you are not willing under any circumstances to compromise on them.
And we're not also going to take the past hurts or those failed relationships into the future, into the next. And I think evidently, just like you were saying, you're very sweet, you give people the benefit of the doubt. And I'm sure you've had previous relationships that did not work out, you know, exactly. But it just seems like we are still open. Though. Exactly. Exactly. And they do. They really do. And that's why I would say it is always still important to still be your genuine, authentic self. You know, and don't allow whatever happened in the past, that bad relationship, to put that brick wall up for other future you know, potential mates or whatever.
And I think guys will show you what you're about. Like even there's great guys out there, but if you drink too much, if you abuse substances, if the biggest turnoff for me, I think at this point in my life, is a lack of discipline. If in any area of your life you exhibit areas where you don't have self-control, that gives me a lot of information on how you're going to manage me. So I mean, when you're assessing a man, really look at that man's discipline and how he has self-control of his urges.
So once you've met a man, how do you manage, if you're in the dating stage and you see some things that you're not really, you know, happy with. How do you manage being in
Such a
that
great
relationship and
question.
keeping it sustained?
You have to fall back.
Yeah, you
You
do.
have to fall back. So there's a great analogy. You have to be a lighthouse, not a laser beam.
Yeah.
So you, as a lighthouse, you calling in all ships. If you're a laser beam, then you're a pick me. You are too focused on him being the prize. And that is the wrong dynamic for attraction. So you really do have to fall back and let the ships come in, and you have to just observe and see, because a man that really wants you is going to show you everything that you need to see.
But sometimes it may not be. You're saying, what do you do if it's not? Repeat that question. If that's not the person, or if you see some things.
If you
where,
see some things that's
Yeah.
not, that you can't work with,
Yeah.
like how do you manage? If you really
And
want
I-
to be with that man, how do you manage? Well, let me put it like this, because you got some women out there
Yeah.
that may see the promise in the project they're working on. How's that? And so they'll say, I can manage this, I can manage that. How do you know when it's either manage or let it go?
That
If
goes
you
back to
have
your
to manage
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
how is it gonna work? Eventually you're gonna
Yeah.
develop a level of contempt
Right.
for that
Right.
person. You're
Exactly.
gonna roll your
Exactly.
eyes, or there'll be some outward behavior
Yeah.
that is contemptuous. And a relationship that has any elements of contempt in it will not last.
It's true. That's true.
I mean, I think in those, I mean, I think we're just kind of at the season in our lives where, to me, time and every day, counts. And I don't believe in wasting time. I think we're kind of at the point where, and I used to be very guilty of taking on projects as well. We're all too old for that, and I think at some point, just being very open and honest, if things are not working, it may be that we're just supposed to be friends and we might go our separate ways. I just don't want to waste time anymore.
We're too old
Yes.
for codependency,
Yes,
too.
definitely.
We need to be interdependent
Yeah.
on one another at
Exactly.
this point.
Exactly.
If I can't sustain my mood and be happy without you,
Right.
Being a part of my day, or
Yeah.
my behavior is dictated by how you behave and what you do. That's not cool. You're not happy within yourself. You need to already be in solidarity with you, and this person walks along beside you, but you are an independent being.
Yes.
And you all are
Yes.
sharing your lives together.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes, don't you think there are some great men out there? I'm sure you all know that there are some great women out there, but sometimes that's just not the person for you.
Exactly.
It's just and it's not that they're just this bad person, or that it's just not that person. You're
Or it
not
just
making
might not
that
be the
connection.
season, too.
Yes, or the season, exactly.
Right. So there's a dynamic that happens between two humans that is more than just seeing this person, more than just talking to this person. It's a thing. It's a thing that you smell. It's pheromones, and there's actually perfumes that they have out there. I've smelt a woman that everybody else perceives as very beautiful, and their pheromones are repelling. Not that they stink. And I've been that same thing. I've had a woman say to me, after hearing tons of people go, "Oh, you smell, oh my God, you smell good," and I don't like that. It's just something about you. I'm like, so, look, I'm like, let us read. But that type of transparency is stuff that you can't ignore. You know what I mean? So here's the deal. A pheromone is going to be different based on how confident you are. If you're confident,
Yeah.
if you're afraid, if you're brave, all of those have different pheromones,
Yeah.
just like you have different neurotransmitters, right? So when you're confident and you walk around in your masculine, and you're just like, this is my fucking frame, and I'm not weak. You reek of that.
I am very pheromone
Okay.
taken. I'll get
Yeah.
taken down
Yeah.
by some pheromones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the problem. Here's the problem. A person that's narcissistic or a bad boy has the same pheromones
Yes.
I know.
as
Yep.
someone
Yep.
that is super confident and in their masculine. So how do you
decipher.
discern that type of manipulation?
That part.
That's good.
That's a good point.
That part.
I had
Yeah.
to learn that
Yes,
because
yes,
I didn't
yes.
know about these different archetypes
Yeah.
in humanity.
Yeah.
I had to learn as a young chick, you know, coming up through the ranks about these different things. But the one thing about it, it would always hit my gut anytime
Yeah.
there was a little bit of narcissism, or even if it was humbling or whatever's just not quite allowing me to be in my authentic space. It's
Right.
like I have a little glitch.
Yeah.
What would you do
Yeah.
again?
Oh,
Yeah.
like a little glitch.
Yes, but yeah.
And I would ignore
yeah.
it. And you
Right.
know what we used to do to
Yeah.
my detriment? This was the whole benefit of the Dow Strawberry Shortcake program. I had to ask, not fully ask her because she's still part of my core being, but it's where you say, oh, well, he had a mother that wasn't there.
Yes. Yes.
You know, or I'm
The
so
excuses,
serious. You
yes.
make
You
excuses for them
excuses.
because
Yes.
you've heard their story.
It's the
And they make-
nurturer. It's
it is.
that nurturer
Right.
part of
And
us.
you want to heal
You want to
them.
heal. Exactly.
But
It's so natural.
But
It's
why?
what women
natural.
do.
It's what we do.
It is part of
and we
our
have to be.
makeup.
Yes, it is.
It
Yes,
really
it is.
But
Yes.
you have to know how to manage your gifts.
Yes,
it's a
you do.
gift that we have where we take care of little baby dolls and
Yes.
we put Ken and them together. We play hospital
That's
and all
it.
these little different things. And we do want to heal them. We want to be the one that can, you know, make you feel better.
Right.
Because we have the medicine you need.
Right.
And that's
Right.
not what we should be doing.
Right.
Always. I mean,
Completely guilty of that.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with us having that. That is something that is very natural, but you get tired.
Yeah.
And it can drain you. And I know in the past, I had to get past that because honestly, the relationships that I have been in over the past have been exactly that, me being drawn in. There's nothing wrong with having that compassion and being that nurturer, but also making sure that man is
Appreciate you.
you're right, appreciative of that and in his realm. You know, that
Yes.
masculinity, that protector, those things that he's supposed to be, you know, giving to us.
And really, you shouldn't be giving it to someone who's not covering you anyway.
exactly.
You are giving all of the good parts of
Yes.
yourself to someone
who's not
does
even
not take
recipro-
responsibility
Exactly.
for you at all.
Exactly.
Who's not going to support you when you break a leg or
Right.
are on the side of the road in a ditch.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so I think women have to become more protective of all those beautiful spaces that make us women. We give it to the wrong people.
We do.
And it gets damaged.
We
And that's
do.
the trauma that we bring into future relationships.
And so in order to stop that, because in part one, that's a little bit about what you all touched on, Omar and Colin, is basically that you feel like you're coming across a lot of women that have a lot of that past
Absolutely.
trauma.
They do.
And
Right.
look at the
Yes.
times we're in a
Yes.
speed dating social media time. So the
Right.
women are really getting played with.
Exactly.
You know, especially if
Exactly.
you're pretty and you can, you know, get a lot of guys to like you. You probably
And then if we're taking all of that and then we're putting this wall up because we've been hurt so much and we've got all this trauma, then now we've got that wall up and we're keeping the good men, you know.
That's two
We're
different
not
groups,
attracting.
though.
Do you
Two
think? What do you
different
think?
groups,
Two different groups?
different
Okay,
groups.
talk to me.
Right, but you have the women
Okay.
that are authentic,
Right.
and really looking for a thing, and then you have the other women that are addicted to attention.
Yeah.
So
And these are the ones
if
that can
you're
mask
addicted
that.
to attention,
Okay.
that's you got to remember, women outnumber men 3-1.
Yes.
So in that ratio, most of those women are addicted to attention. So if you're weaving through most of that, by the time we get to something serious like this, we might miss it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking, you know, how can you, hey, I'm not that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Type of thing. And I know that's not fair to say,
Right.
but
You can't do
It's-
that
it's-
without opening yourself up, though. I mean, in a
agree.
sense, you just really. How can you even get,
I'm
get
asking
to
you.
that? Yeah.
You gotta take your
You gotta
time
take- yeah,
when you
yes.
liking a guy. And
Yes.
you should not share your body, be so
So-
free to share
yes.
your body
Yes.
so soon.
Yes.
I mean, because that just like
It completely.
gasoline on a fire.
It does.
I mean, I'm very womb conscious, and I know that I have another set of emotions down there.
Yeah.
So I know that it's just not wise for me to engage in that way with a gentleman unless I have gotten to a certain point with him
Right.
of, knowing his character and who he is. So that's just
But
that's
for some of them, explain womb conscious, because I don't think a lot of women understand
Well,
that, because that is something that some women really need to understand.
You're right.
I think in modern dating practices, Sex in the City and all of those things that look so fun, to us as women, the modern woman emerges out of having sex like a man, being disconnected from her body
Right.
and her essence.
Right.
And so I do have, you got dick dates and
She said it.
She said it. It's there. There we go. It's out.
That's what we do.
We got it. Let's go.
all of these other things
Yes,
in
yes.
popular culture
Right,
that are
right.
cultural practices
Yes.
within our generation
Yes.
now.
And it's a common practice. I mean, that all
It
of that right
is.
there. That's But
And
go
women
ahead.
are being hurt by it,
Yes,
but they
yes.
are practicing cognitive
Yes.
dissonance. They
Yes.
are disconnected from
Yes.
the body.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
body
Yes.
keeps the score.
Yes.
The womb is holding all of those experiences in
Every
it.
single one of them.
And eventually it does catch up.
Yes.
So
yes.
for me,
Yes. No, that's great.
he
That's
asked
what
about
you're saying.
womb
You're-
consciousness.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
It is the understanding, and even if you look back on beautiful sexual experiences or intimacies you've had in the past, knowing yourself in that intimate way and managing your essence and knowing the value of it, knowing who deserves to experience you in that way,
Exactly.
is very
And it is a
important.
deserve.
It is a deserve.
For the man. It's
For the
Yes.
Yes.
we got to prove that we deserve it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if he
I
can't
didn't
wait,
interrupt you.
No.
right. No,
I just wanted to
yeah.
co-sign you on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you're right. And I think a lot of women, you're right, we have just continued not to think about that and appreciate that and probably just in the day to day kind of putting ourselves out there thinking that we can do the same things as men
Can.
do, and we cannot.
And ladies,
We
you
can't.
also have to be careful about inserting of plastics because I know that even if you are on an abstinence journey and you're using toys or devices, those things have an impact on your womb consciousness as well. I mean, if you are trying to attract your soulmate or a man that you can be intimate with and have a beautiful relationship with, and you are using your rose every day, you're not going to be able to bond with that
playing
Now
man.
there's some women that are saying, "Hey, now Tiffany,
Listen,
Don't touch
I'm not
my
trying to
rose.
take your chocolate cake from you. I'm
Right,
just saying
right.
there are some levels of experience or connection that you're not going to be
Yeah.
able to
You're
make
right.
with your partner.
You're exactly right.
If you are desensitizing,
You're-
and for men, it's pornography. For men, it's the same thing. You are
Absolutely.
desensitizing the bond that we
is
can
very
create
true.
together by engaging in those things.
you said was really powerful and very good, because we know that there are women, that do use that, especially when you're single.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just put it out there on the table, but I do
Yeah.
agree that if you want to make sure that that relationship that you get into in the future, those things really can desensitize. I hope I said that
Yeah,
right.
and I'm not
from that.
villainizing it.
Yeah.
We want pleasure too
Right.
sometimes, and sometimes
Right.
it's stress release or
It is.
anxiety.
Yes.
But it can
Yes.
become an addiction, just like
yes.
smoking
Yes.
weed or drinking.
Yes. Yes.
It's
To a
It's exactly
yes.
that.
Yes.
It is
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So if my daughter was watching this episode,
Yes.
I want her to hear me say this. Right? So you spoke on the importance of not using some sort of external thing to get pleasure too much.
She said a rose.
Right?
She said the
she did. She did.
Say that.
And for men, you got to understand, when you do that, you're literally eliminating getting up, taking a shower, getting ready, getting your hair done, getting your hair ready, shaving in my case, making sure that everything's right.
the
and
ritual.
getting your mindset right, getting out, get your pheromones right, go out. It's a whole big process. And that takes work, and the satisfaction in doing
Yes.
work and finishing and seeing your project is all of it. It's satisfaction. So the satisfaction of doing all of that reduced to in your hand is
In your
and
bonnet.
especially if it's too much is ridiculous. So I say all that to co-sign what you just said. But I would want my daughter to hear me say this, and I wish I would have known this when I was younger. But your body count isn't just a physical thing. It's if you allow a man to enter you and to actually ejaculate inside of you, there is the term is microchimerism, meaning that man's DNA is in you for life.
It's bonded.
For life. So that's the thing. That's why it's so important for the woman to filter properly.
Yes.
And that's why it's such a for a man to be like, notch on my belt.
Yeah.
So for a woman, the responsibility is absolutely greater.
Right.
So when you find a woman that is taking that serious, it's what a man's based on what he can build. A woman is based on what she can preserve. So if you're preserving that, and you find that, and then you get all these other things we're talking about, bend the knee.
Yeah.
The knee is bent.
Yes.
And sex is really magical when it's
with the right person.
is.
And
I
it's,
mean,
yes.
it is manifesting magical. It is glorious.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
And what did you call that again? What did we say?
Womb conscious.
Womb consciousness.
I think we need a lot more of that, because I think sometimes women feel like, if I don't, it comes to that time, you don't want the man to leave. Men need sex, and so you, in a sense, feel obligated to do that. But I think that's how we oftentimes get hurt over and over again.
Yeah.
And so I love that terminology, and I think we need to do more of that.
And brothers need to be
Yeah.
conscious too.
Exactly.
Because you got some women out there named Sunshine, so you know. From Harlem.
That's very good. I mean, that's like another episode.
Sex is a
You're
currency.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
it's
is.
very transactional.
Yes,
It's
yes.
to pay for dinner.
Yeah.
That
sometimes.
DC is important.
Yes.
You gotta have
Which
that
is
control.
weird.
You gotta
And
have
men,
control.
and we should be telling our sons
Yeah.
that same thing.
Because-
the same thing
Yeah.
that we
For
tell,
sure.
our
If
daughters.
whether the son knows it or not, if all the women know it,
Yeah.
it's not happening unless.
Very true.
I would love to have a husband who I am just ready for when he comes home, just because
I agree.
I want to serve him.
Yes.
Yes.
I
yes,
mean,
yes.
That's what I desire. And he is excited to come home because he knows that he is about to be served.
I always wanted that too. I mean, that's. I honestly.
That's what
can
we want. We definitely want a woman to
Yeah.
come on
That's-
to. I mean, definitely.
And you can be career oriented. You
It's
can be a strong,
fun.
but to say this is the type of woman, and I actually even prayed for it, that I wanted the type of husband where when he came home, he was like, I got to get home to Tanya,
You know how
because
many
that
women
was my
just
yes.
now.
Yes.
Went like,
I know that, and I know, and I know that.
I can't stand the time.
Right. But
They
that is
talking that
that
old-fashioned
is
stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what
But,
we're dealing
yeah.
with, though.
I think there are more
I'm just saying.
women out there that are like that really.
Yeah, I believe that's a good number.
That,
but I
you
would
know?
say that, but also, for us, we don't have to just we have to protect from the ones who actually have that feminine energy, that the masculine energy.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
like
Because-
the faux feminine.
Yeah,
energy.
like they come out with very feminine energy because they want you, but once they get you, you start to see the masculine energy. Those are the things that we struggle with, and that's why we're saying the anomaly of what you guys are, because that's what you guys are. But you got a lot of women out there who bring this energy,
Right.
but once they get us,
know that it exists. Know the
switch.
importance of it. And
It's
then,
levels to this. That's just role play. So I think as men, you need to get better
trying
at
to
distinguishing the true feminine essence from the role of femininity,
Which is really sexual,
playing.
maybe more sexual role
It
playing.
can. It's
perhaps?
more to build sexual tension. Now, if you're into role playing, whether you're a feminine or a faux feminine,
Right.
you can get role playing is for a negotiated time. So you and your partner have to agree. If you're engaging with a woman like that because she's fine, let's just say you like looking at her and that's why you're there. It needs to be for a negotiated time if that's not what you want. So you just know that we're going to, what was that movie, 9 weeks?
9.5 weeks.
Yeah, 9.5 weeks.
It's for a negotiated time. Now, if you want a real feminine woman, I mean, you can do a lot with that. You can have all of your fantasies
That is true.
fulfilled.
That is true.
I'm about to say too much.
Go ahead.
But he was talking about how do you discern that?
Try to gatekeep
How does he
it.
not? Well, I mean, but how does he discern someone where it's natural, and someone where it's just for that? Yeah, that appointed that certain amount of time, or she's just and then all of a sudden,
technically
Once
speaking-
you get past the dopamine, it's like what I said earlier. Once you get, because a woman, is hard for her to distinguish whether a masculine man that's just love bombing her is really sincere, you know, in wanting to show real genuine interest in her. And it's after you get past the dopamine. Now, if you get past the dopamine and he distances himself from you, then that's going to trigger your abandonment, your rejection, all that trauma you have as a woman. So unless you have healed those parts of yourself or have awareness of them, you're going to make an unwise investment in this gentleman. You're going to stay way too long.
True.
yeah.
But if you're healed as a man, a woman is only going to be able to run that game on you for so long
That is
before
true.
you realize you're going to hit a wall.
That is true.
But if you hit that wall and you keep chasing her,
Right.
it's something wrong that you need to look at.
That
and
is
heal.
true.
There it is.
That is true.
That's the
100%.
answer.
That is true.
Love it.
And that is going to wrap up part 2 of Black Coffee Conversations.
I learned a lot.
We all learned a
I
lot.
learned a great deal.
So tune in next for the next episode. We'll see you later.
See y'all.
Peace.